Welcome! We are going to make a hearty loaf of purple potato bread. So hearty, it is a standalone meal. This recipe produces a flavorful, dense bread, moist and very sliceable. The purple potatoes we will be using help make a soft, dense, and yummy bread. Complemented with a unique dipping sauce, this is a real treat. We began by gathering purple potatoes. We'll be using roughly a quart of whole potatoes, which technically would yield about 2 or 3 cups of mashed potatoes. Add less potatoes to your recipe for a lighter loaf, though in this recipe we are striving for a dense, tasty bread. These all blue or purple skin potatoes are fairly easy to grow. These potatoes were harvested from our garden. Many traditional potato breads are made with potato water, or water in which potatoes have been boiled. We will be using whole cooked potatoes and some of the potato water. Mashed potatoes add color, texture, and a variety of nutrients to our bread. Wash the potatoes well to remove any residual garden soil. Boil the potatoes in water for about 15 minutes until they are tender. You don't really want to overcook your potatoes, as they will lose some of the potato flavor. Prepare a bowl of cold water, which will be used to decrease the temperature of the potatoes after they boil. We'll be using some of the potato water for our recipe, so we'll save it and collect it in a bowl beneath our stainless steel strainer. Cool the potatoes by gently placing them into the bowl of cold water. We will let them rest here for about 4 or 5 minutes. Our next task is to remove the potato skins. Gently rotate the potatoes between the palms of your hands, and then use your fingers and fingernails to remove the skins. Don't throw away the skins. We'll be using the skins for our unique dipping sauce. Potato skins are rich in iron, protein, potassium, vitamin C, and other phytonutrients. Anthocyanins are the pigments in the potatoes that give it the purple hue or color. In addition to adding a unique purple color to our bread, anthocyanins offer extra health benefits too. Most blue or purple potatoes have a moist, firm flesh. We will use a cup of the potato water to proof our yeast. Hot water kills yeast, and this water is still pretty hot. Let the potato water cool to 110 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit, or around 44 degrees Celsius. If we add the yeast too soon to the hot water, the yeast will get boiled alive and die a painful death. We will be using an active yeast as a leavening agent for our bread. We will use about 3 teaspoons of dry active yeast and less than a teaspoon of cane sugar. And we will proof it in the potato water with a little bit of sugar to make sure it's still active. As the yeast consumes the starches and sugars in the potato water, it produces carbon dioxide. When we add the proofed yeast to our flour and potato mixture, the yeast continues to work. Carbon dioxide fills hundreds of balloon-like bubbles in the dough, which is what gives the loaf an airy texture. In a large mixing bowl, add 3 cups of flour. I'm using 3 different types of whole wheat flour. High gluten flours will rise a lot higher and brown more as compared to a low gluten flour such as cake or pastry flour. Add 3 teaspoons of oil, and I'm using an oil made from algae. Add 1 or 2 teaspoons of salt. Add the cooked purple potatoes. Add the proofed yeast along with the warm potato water. Knead the dough with a machine with a dough hook or knead by hand. Gluten is a type of protein in wheat flour and is responsible for the majority of the structure in our bread. The chunks of purple potato eventually become mashed potatoes. Use the friction of the counter and the dough and fold the dough onto itself multiple times. Kneading dough strengthens the gluten strands that give bread its structure. Plan to spend 10 to 12 minutes if you're kneading by hand, or 8 to 10 minutes using a mixer and dough hook. Form the dough into the shape of a geoid or a ball. we will create a warm, moist environment for our dough to rise. We will be using our oven as a proofing box for the dough. Boil about 4 cups of water. Add a pan to the bottom of your oven and add the hot water to the pan. Your oven should be off. Rub a thin layer of oil inside of a bowl. Place the dough in the bowl, cover, and place in our oven proofing box. We will give the yeast about 2 hours to consume the sugars and starches in our dough. As we wait for the bread to rise, let's make our unique and flavorful purple sauce for the bread. Sour cream and potatoes are a tasty combination. Our purple potato sauce will use sour cream as its base. We'll be using a blender to make the creamy sauce. Add a half a cup of sugar and a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Add all of the potato skins and a cup of sour cream. Add a teaspoon of oil and a teaspoon of raw honey. Blend until smooth. Cover the sauce with plastic wrap and place it in the refrigerator. I am anxious to spread some of this purple sauce on our finished bread. After 2 hours, our dough has roughly doubled in size. We'll add a sprinkle of flour to the working surface and continue to knead and stretch for an additional 8 to 10 minutes. Allowing the dough to rise multiple times results in a finer gluten structure as compared to letting the dough rise just once. Form the dough into a geoid or round ball-like structure. Place the dough into a round proofing basket lightly covered with flour and cover. The water in the pan at the base of our oven has cooled. Discard the cool water and replace with 4 cups of boiling water. Place the dough back into the oven or proofing box for about another 2 hours, until the dough roughly doubles in size. We're going to keep the baking process fairly simple. Empty the dough onto an enameled cast iron roasting pan. Slice the top with a sharp knife or razor blade. With the oven still off, place the enameled cast iron roasting pan and dough into the oven. With the oven still off, we're going to let the dough rise a third time for approximately 30 minutes. After patiently waiting 30 minutes, turn the temperature of the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is approximately 200 degrees Celsius. It'll take about 8 minutes for the internal temperature of the oven to reach 400 degrees. In the meantime, the dough will continue to rise until the yeast can no longer handle the temperature. We will bake the purple potato dough in the enameled cast iron roasting pan for about 45 minutes. After removing the water tray at the base of our oven, we will bake the bread for an additional 10 minutes directly on the wire rack. Before slicing into your masterpiece, let the bread cool for at least a half hour. Spread on some purple magic sauce and enjoy.